cities.
Now, you're very modest and humble when you say you didn't think you'd sold that many records. At bands like Nickelback's already sold over 30, 40 million records and won just about every award conceivable. And so it's interesting to hear you say that, to be that humble. But I do get a lot of email from around the world, from the international audiences, that are always asking for music from your group, stuff that you've written for other artists or from Nickelback's either Dark Horse or previous albums. And I was just curious, one of the questions I get asked to ask you is that through your international touring, international visits and places you've been, do you have a favorite place that you like to go, or have you had some great experiences in certain parts of the world?
It's not fair to sort of pick a favorite, really. There's so many places that I wish we had 3 more days off that we could actually get around and see some of the places that we go to. We started doing that a lot more on this last run in Europe. We started looking at where each of the dates were taking us and kind of like, all right, we got a day off here, I realize it's a bit of a bus drive, but we'll take all the buses, and we shot over to Prague and really saw the city, got a big full tour and saw everything, and that was fantastic. Seeing Prague in the snow is just amazing. Had a couple days off and went over to Venice. And we haven't played in either one of those places, but finally got to go and, let's start looking. I don't want this whole part of my life to go by and be like, you know what, we were 2 hours away by plane and we could have just gone and, visited some of the most amazing places. And so we just started doing that. I did, The other band members, some of them like to get up early and go for jogs or go for hikes, and they see a lot more stuff. For myself, I need to get so much sleep to reset the old vocal cords. I wind up missing so much stuff. I get to bed around like 4 in the morning typically, and I try and get 10 hours to reset the vocal cords. So by that time, any of the nice golf courses or anything that we could have gone to, or the boys have taken tours on aircraft carriers. For some reason, all that fun stuff has to take place at 10 o'clock in the morning. I get to miss all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Now, what's it feel like to you when you're on stage in somewhere like Germany or Italy? They don't speak English, but they know every word to every Nickelback song. What's that feel like?
Well, for me, I try to brush up on my local dialect. But nobody wants to teach me anything good to say. I get to learn
the dirty words.
Yeah, I get all the dirty stuff, which works well.
Sure.
It turns into great rock and roll talk. When you're blasting off some of that stuff, it tends to generate quite the response from the locals. It's cool to be able to sit down and kind of order a beer or a certain kind of food, in 10 different languages. But that's about as, I might be able to order pizza. I can, that's about it. You get your please, your thank yous, your hellos, excuse me's, and then if you're in Germany, you get some of your fun phrases. But it's cool.
But they know your songs. I mean, they may not know much English, but they know your songs.
It's funny because in one of the songs, it's Saving Me. There's a part that Ryan sings where he's like, he's saying, I'm falling, and it's sort of delaying on. Mm-hmm. And as he pulls away from the microphone while we're in Tokyo, they say, I'm falling, with a Japanese accent. And, we're in a serious song, and you're just like, you're trying not to bust out laughing before you go into the last chorus, because it's just you're just not used to hearing it that way. And same thing with other places that have really strong accents. Germany's got a nice strong accent, and it's interesting to hear all these places sing to you.
I had a couple of members of the military write in, and they wanted to know what was it like, and I guess they may be Canadian members of the military, because they wrote in and said, what was it like meeting Stephen Harper, who you just met last weekend, I guess, recently?
3 days ago.
3 days ago, exactly. Well, there you go. So what was that all
These
about?
are fresh.
What did you guys talk
These
about?
Are hot off the press.
This is hot off the press. So what did you guys talk about?
They invited us over to the house for beer and pizza,
mm-hmm.
And thank God I got to, speak in my native tongue. It was great. They came down to the show, and they're very down-to-earth people, like really down-to-earth. Mrs. Harper is from Alberta. She's originally from Turner Valley. And so we had a lot in common because, 3 of us are also from Alberta. And Stephen Harper's he's a piano player. and likes a lot of the same music that we like, and they're fans of the band, which is very cool. And the son, Ben, is 14 now, and he's playing bass and guitar, and they had a jam room set up. Like when we walked in, I'm like, oh, I hope we don't have to play. But they had everything all set up, and that was where they'd been jamming, and that was really cool too. So we had lots of stuff to talk about. It wasn't, those awkward moments like, so, re-election coming up. How about that? Yeah. No, it was really cool, and it was down to earth, and you just never know what to expect when you're heading over for one of those things. But it was great.
Another question I got asked by one of the listeners: what's it like being in a band with your brother?
I think it was harder early on, because you would never speak to anyone else in the world the way that you would speak to a sibling. You know that, right? Anyone who's got siblings knows that. You can be far more harsh and crass and direct that I would never speak to Daniel or Ryan the same way that I would speak to Mike, and vice versa. We also know, all the right buttons to push to get the reaction. If you're losing an argument especially, we both know how to here's the combination to make your head come off. So that was definitely harder when we were spending a lot of time together in vans, on one bus together, always deciding, the direction of the band, what we're going to do, what countries we're going to try to get to, and, all these types of decisions that go on when you're trying to run a beast like this band. Now that things are, I never get to see him. I saw him in catering, for a couple minutes, and then I'll see him right before the curtain falls, and then for a couple minutes after the show, and that's it. And then once in a while there's band meetings and stuff, but we're so busy doing our own thing on the road here that you're not forced to. Oh yeah, there aren't a lot of those moments going on anymore. So we don't really turn into the Gallagher brothers, and never really.
That's
have.
good.
Ours have always been debating, but there's been some good jousts, but it's definitely a good relationship.
What do you do in your spare time when you do have the rare occasion that you have some spare time? What do you like to do?
I like to head down to Mexico. Especially this time of the year in Vancouver where I live, it's raining. There's a lot of rain, and it can be a little depressing. It's great for writing serious songs, but there's only so much of that you can stand. It's really tough to head back to Vancouver when it's raining, when you know that you can hang out in Cabo San Lucas and watch the ocean come up and listen to the a breeze flow through the palm trees. But the summers in Vancouver are just unbeatable. They are really, really fantastic. I'd like to get away. I like to get down, make a run for the border this time of year.
We're talking to Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. The new album is called Dark Horse, and you had mentioned earlier the new single, This Afternoon. Mm-hmm. It's the 7th single from the album. Not many albums can come up with that many singles. This is obviously a killer album. What's this song about? We'll play the video, and what's the song
about? It's a party song. It's just a party song, and the video will definitely, guide you through that. Mutt sort of looked at it as our friends in low places from Garth Brooks, if you will. He wanted that kind of vibe, and it definitely came across that way. We were in Switzerland for the first 3 songs that we were working on at Mutt's place, and we were sitting there. I think we were 5 or 6 bottles of wine in, and all feeling really good, and I turned into the class clown. And I had everybody roaring pretty good. I was telling all these stories, and I had Mutt just roaring. We were all just, cracking up pretty good. And I said, so what are we doing? Are we going to work on this song? Or, this was after 45 minutes of straight laughter. And Mutt's like, look behind him. And I look back, and he's got a 58 microphone sitting right over my shoulder. And I'm like, well, what are we doing here? And so he took all those parts where we were just cutting up, laughing so hard. And he started stacking it all up. And he made it sound like we were in a pub. So when the thing starts off, I'm like, you sneaky bastard. It was good. I just couldn't believe it. It worked so well. He had a game plan. Now, I don't think he knew that we were going to have that much fun, but it worked. It really, really worked because there's 5 of us sitting around. Now, if you've got 40 minutes of that and you start stacking it up, suddenly you've got, 60 people, and it sounds like a pub.
It's great to have Chad Kroeger back on the show. Nice to see you again. You
Nice
look
to see you.
great,
Thanks,
and
buddy.
life on the road is doing you well.
And congrats on the new one.
Thank you so much. And your new one too, Dark Horse. That's the new one in the life of guys in the band Nickelback. So go check out their show. If it comes near you, you can get the tour dates on the website. We really appreciate talking to you, Chad.
Absolutely. Good to
Thank
see
you
you,
so
man.
much.
Good to see you.
This is the voice